This is a case of 22-year-old male with involuntary movements since yesterday at 6 p.m.
Right. So you are having a patient with involuntary movements.
Yes.
Can you tell the names of the involuntary movements?
Chorea.
Right.
Atetosis.
Right.
Hemibalismus.
Right.
Tremor.
Right.
Then titubation.
Can there be fasciculations, tics, myoclonus, dystonia, epilepsy?
Yes, sir.
Anything is possible. So how do you approach this patient? How do you find out what is happening?
We look for rebound tenderness. Sir.
Involuntary movements, how do you look for? What you want to make out? What type of involuntary movement this patient has got? That's our target.
Whether it is rhythmic.
One episode only at 6 p.m.
Okay.
What all details you want? So name one involuntary movement you know of.
Chorea.
Chorea. So what history you will get from the bystander or the patient regarding chorea? Is it that something take place at 6 p.m. and stops there?
No.
No. So what is that involuntary movement you can think about one episode at 6 p.m.?
Seizure could be.
Seizure. So imagine that seizure and then proceed with the history taking. How do you take history of seizure?
Whether patient had any aura before the event.
We would like to know whether the previous episodes were there or was the first episode of this nature.
Okay, sir.
Definitely, you would like to know about the aura of the patient.
Yes,
that's a good question. Aura is very important thing. Aura can give clue to the diagnosis. So aura is a very important point you mentioned. What are the different types of auras you know of?
Visual.
Visual aura can be there.
There could be auditory.
Auditory is there.
Sensory.
So this auditory and gustatory, visual and all are hallucinations coming as aura, right? Then you said that as sensations, abnormal sensation, that sensory type of aura. So sensory type of aura is there, yes?
Then.
So auras can be divided into as motor aura, sensory aura, autonomic aura, or as cognitive auras. Coming to motor aura, you take the position as forced head turning or forced eye turning. You would have seen competitors taking part in different types of sports and games. And you can see fencing posture.
Yes.
Fencing posture is the one. So just turn your head and neck to one side.
Yes,
coming
sir.
to the sensory, as you have correctly said, patient can have abnormal sensation. This cognitive state is the déjà vu depersonalization. You can have autonomic type of auras, the different manifestations. Cognitive, it may be in the form of fear, anger, hallucinations.
Okay, sir.
So you can have autonomic in the form of pallor, sweating, nausea, vomiting.
Okay, sir.
So you can have cognitive, autonomic, sensory. Abnormal sensations may be the aura. So motor auras, sensory aura, autonomic aura, cognitive aura, they're all auras. This particular patient doesn't give his aura, but he made a particular sound, then he fell to the ground. That's the story. What else you want to know?
Any automatism?
That is the post-ictal part. Post-ictal part, he was just drowsy and sleeping. That will come to detail. What else you want to know? So, you have to take history before this episode of involuntary movement, namely pre-ictal state.
Okay, sir.
So, what all things you want to know pre-ictal state? Was it a daytime or nighttime? It's 6 p.m. Right? Was he fasting or not? Due to hypoglycemia.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Then, suppose somebody falls while standing in a queue for a long time, what it can be?
Synco.
Can be syncope. Vasovagal syncope. So, we would like to know the background story. Also, we would like to take the history, whether it was previous episodes, if not, details about this episode. From whom you will take that history?
Okay, sir.
From whom you will get that history?
From the bystander.
The collateral history is very important in this patient. So you ask the patient, bystander, is there history of aura? Did he make any sound, cry? How long was the tonic phase? Did he become stiff? If so, for how long? Was there tonic and chronic phase? If so, for how long? Was there a focal origin for this? Spreading to all over the body? Or was it generalized from the beginning? What's the difference between the two?
Focal seizure are usually simple partial seizures. They may not be a part of epileptiform syndrome.
That's right. So if it starts at one point and becomes generalized, what is that? That's called as Jacksonian seizures.
Jacksonian seizure. Okay.
Jacksonian seizure. So you would like to know about the origin of this tonic-clonic movement and how long it lasted. We would like to know what all things happened during this movement. Were the eyes open or closed? Was there uprolling of the eyes or conjugate deviation? Was froth coming? Any injury to the patient? Then what happened? Was he incontinent? The urine and feces? Was there any injury? And soon after, what happened? Whether he has lost consciousness, not important finding here. How does it make difference to you?
In certain, it could be differentiated from
generalized seizures are always with loss of consciousness. Partial seizures not so.
Okay,
so generalized seizure is always with loss of consciousness. So was he unconscious? If so, for how long? Then what happened at the post-ictal period? Was he having headache? Vomiting? Was he having tiredness? Did he go to sleep? Or when he recovered, was he able to recognize people? Was he having automatisms? Deja vu, Javomi? So we would like to know what exactly is happening to the patient. So episode must be properly recorded.
Okay, sir.
We would like to know anything that precipitated the seizure episode. So what are those things you would like to ask? Some people get seizures when they are exposed to flashing lights.
Okay, sir.
Some people get if seizure then they withdraw from alcohol. Stop alcohol for 24, 72 hours, they get seizures, withdrawal seizures.
Okay.
Some people on medications for epilepsy or some other medications, you withdraw, you get seizure. So you would like to know that history actually.
Okay, sir.
You would like to know whether the gentleman is on illicit drugs or any prescribed medications like tricyclic antidepressants. We would like to know about his compliance or not. We would like to know whether he had any recent illness which can be associated with it.
Okay, sir.
Seizure can be primary seizure and secondary seizure. So we would like to know whether it's a background story. What all background stories can be asked to find out the etiology of the seizure? Seizure need not be always idiopathic, it can be secondary. What are secondary causes of seizure?
Any stroke, hemorrhagic stroke?
Stroke. So you have to take history of limb weakness, sensory complaints, dysphagia, visual problems, ataxia. So seizure. What else? Vascular mention. Yes. Anything else? Suppose the patient had fever,
meningitis,
vomiting, photophobia. Possibilities are
meningitis,
infections. Infections affecting meningitis is called meningitis. If the infection is involving the brain, what you call?
encephalitis.
If it's affecting venous system, what do you call it?
Phlebitis.
And leading on to venous thrombosis. Fourth possibility we have to consider in a young man is cerebral malaria. So particularly if he has visited an area endemic for malaria.
Okay, sir.
It may be brain abscess. How do you know that? What history you can get to find out the source of infection for brain abscess?
Any fungal herniation?
There may be history of otitis media or sinusitis, ENT problems.
Okay, sir.
Suppose this patient gives history of, say, 1 month history of progressively increasing headache with the projectile vomiting. What will be the possibility?
Intracranial space
occupying lesion. Suppose this patient is giving history of a malignancy before. What is the possibility?
It can be a metastasis.
Suppose the patient gives history of retrovirus infection in the past.
HIV and
HIV related infections or malignancies. So there can be different types of symptoms which may give a clue to the etiology of the disease process. This patient has got etiology at the age of onset at the age of 22 years. What is your inference?
Probably a primary cause. It could.
At the age of 20, we say it's a cutoff point. After 20, we say it's a late onset seizure. Because idiopathic epilepsy you expect during teenager time. We have the first episode. So this is a bit delayed. So we have to be careful about this patient. This is an age group where they may be using recreational drugs.
Okay, sir.
Take care of that. Okay. So we are asking the history at the age of the onset of the disease, number of attacks the patient had. Timing is very important, especially for diabetic patients, early morning seizures, hypoglycemia, duration of each one and description. We need to know the intervals between the episodes, maximum, minimum, and the last episode. And the patterns of each episode from a collateral history. If the patient is known to have lightheadedness, occasional palpitation, also remember there can be a group of arrhythmias which can predispose to stroke rhythm attacks, and the patient can have episodes of loss of consciousness with some chronic movements may be there.
Okay, sir.
If the patient is fully conscious when the involuntary movement take place, can you suggest a diagnosis? Tonic and chronic is there. Some of the muscles are there, but the patient is conscious. So convulsive movements taking place in a conscious patient must make you think possibly you're dealing with the case of tetanus.
Okay, sir.
When a patient is having this episode, if you happen to be around, what all things you will observe? You are a medical student, you are around, what all things you will observe?
Whether the tonic-clonic movements are moving from his hand to whether there is a march, Jacksonian march.
Good. What else?
Then we look for involuntary micturition is present or not.
Very good. What else?
Then tongue biting.
We'll have to. That's right. Very good. What else?
Any automatism, smacking, chewing.
Excellent. What else? During the episode, if you are around, in 1 second you will know whether the eyes are open or closed. Closed eye points to psychogenic origin. Open eyes indicates that it's possibly organic. So organic diseases producing true seizure, eyes will be open with conjugate deviation, uprolling of the eyes. And if you test the eye at that time, there is no protective reflex to close the eyes, so eyes will remain open. No difference from the patient's side. If it is a psychogenic one, the moment you try to open it, they will tightly close it. If you draw plantar response during the seizure, if it's a true seizure, generalized, plantar may be outgoing, but never in case of psychogenic one. If you move the limb in a case of seizure, post-seizure time, these patients will be very flaccid at that time. After the seizure, post-ictal state, you can move the limb any direction you want. But psychogenic will be opposing you always. And also you will observe what type of injury this patient had. Commonly, you bite the tongue on the sides. It is psychogenic that bite on the tip. And the involuntary movements will not have a classical pattern. In case of psychogenic seizure, they keep on kicking in any direction, and there is a back thrust also, and they resist to you examining them, unlike a patient, truly unconscious patient who gives way to you.
Okay, sir.
So a couple of things you have to observe, and that will tell you whether you are dealing with a true seizure or not.
Okay, sir.
Some people just stare and remain unconscious. That is petit mal. Okay.
Okay.
Also, if you observe during the seizure, sometimes it will be preceded by few jerks, and they have got the true seizure. So what are those jerks? What are involuntary movement comes as jerky movements?
Myoclone.
So that leading to one diagnosis, myoclonic epilepsy.
Okay.
So history taking of these involuntary movements, if the clear aim, one episode with loss of consciousness is usually seizure. In seizure, you would like to know many details to make it organic or functional. If it's organic, to find out is it a secondary type or is it primary? So,
okay, sir.
Okay. So the history we took, he has got, read.
He has a generalized tonic-clonic seizure. Yesterday 6 p.m. One episode, duration 5 minutes. History of sleep deprivation. History of involuntary micturition, and no history of involuntary defecation. No history of tongue bite present. Post-ictal drowsiness and present, which lasted for 30 minutes.
So during a seizure, it is the important period for the doctor. We have got pre-ictal, ictal and post-ictal, which is important part to make a diagnosis.
Pre-ictal.
Post-ictal is the most important. The patient remains drowsy, sleeps for a long time, had severe headache, myalgia, vomits, or there is a behavioral problem in the wake-up, deja vu, jaomi, unfamiliarity. They all make it a organic disease, not a functional or psychogenic. Look at the tongue bite, again you will be able to say where is the problem. There's a clue here, the sleep deprivation was present. What does it mean?
In case of myoclonic epilepsy?
No, all the seizures are likely to get precipitated after sleep deprivation. So epileptic patients are always requested to sleep on time and wake up on time only.
Okay.
Whatever be the background, they should not cut their sleep. So when you take the history, social history, it asks what type of job they do. Night shifts are not good for them. They will get repeated episodes of seizure.
Okay,
Got the point?
Yes,
Similarly, the food deprivation may also be a precipitating factor. So from the history here, not only that this patient had history suggestive of seizure, also we could find out this was precipitated by sleep deprivation.
Okay, sir.
So, after history, what do you think? Is it a organic disease or a psychogenic one?
Probably organic disease.
Right, right. What else you would like to know about this patient?
Whether the patient had any addictions?
Addiction. Okay, alcohol, drugs, recreational drugs, prescribed drugs, yes.
Whether the
No,
patient...
no further seizures. Okay, no history of weakness. Suppose he developed weakness following the seizure, what will you think?
It's a post-Todd's paralysis.
Todd's paralysis. That may give some clue to the any lesion anywhere. So here this patient had history of headache, nausea and vomiting. Following this episode, what do you think about that?
Probably he may have some hemorrhagic.
Fine. So what is a seizure?
Seizure is continuous discharge of abnormal electrical discharge of neurons.
Okay. So what is convulsion?
It's motor manifestation of the
Motor manifestation in the form of tonic or clonic movement is called convulsion. Is epilepsy?
Epilepsy, 2 or more seizures.
Unprovoked?
It's a part of epileptiform syndrome.
So 1 or 2 unprovoked episodes of no etiology, you will think it is epilepsy.
Okay, sir.
So what do you want to look for in the examination of these patients? This 22-year-old man is coming, his temperature is high, he has got some purpuric lesions on his legs. What possibility can you think? Fever, headache, vomiting, rash, and he is unconscious. Meningococcal meningitis
Okay, sir.
can be one possibility. Anything else you look for in the examination? Head injury? Important for us.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Birth problems?
Yes, sir.
We have to look for. Anything else? So, suppose there's a thyroid scar. Somebody has done thyroidectomy. What possibility is there?
There could be a hypoparathyroidism.
Hypoparathyroidism, hypocalcemia seizure. That's good.
Okay.
And there may be history of hypocalcemia, carpopedal spasm.
Yes, sir.
What else? You just go near the patient, you get the smell of alcohol. You think intoxication.
Yes, sir.
Suppose the history suggests your withdrawal, maybe delirium tremens. How many days after alcohol withdrawal you get delirium tremens? Commonly? After 72 hours, before 7 days.
Okay, sir.
Fever may give a clue. Suppose there is profuse sweating and tachycardia.
Patient has chronic
Hypoglycemia.
hypoglycemia.
Okay. Suppose undetected diabetes or diabetes not under care, especially elderly person, hyperglycemia may be non-ketotic hyperosmolar coma.
Okay, sir.
If you find some vascular malformation on his forehead, around the eye, face, what will you suspect? That is points to Sturge-Weber syndrome, where
Okay.
you have got similar type of lesions over your cortex, and that's discharging, producing seizures. Sturge-Weber syndrome. That's written on the face of the patient. The moment you see it, you know what it is.
Okay, sir.
Suppose you have got some pimple-like lesions, some acne-like lesions around your nose, root of the nose, what possibly a forehead, what will you suspect? Adenoma sebaceum.
Okay, sir.
Which condition comes to adenomyosis sebaceum? Tuberous sclerosis.
Okay, sir.
Okay. And there may be history that this patient is having some drugs like thiazide, hyponatremia, again seizure. Okay.
Sir.
So there are plenty of things you have to look for, ask for in the history of a simple case of seizure. First step one is to find out organic or functional. Number two is to find out what is the etiology. Number three is what is the precipitating factor. And if it's a known case, of course, we would like to know what all drugs he has taken, what all side effects he had, and about the compliance part.
Okay, sir.
Never forget alcohol, other drugs concomitantly being taken by the patient.
Okay.
On examination, this is what you see.
Patient is conscious and oriented. Vitals are stable. Tongue bites present. No history of no other trauma. Left pronator drift positive. Plantar right flexor. Left extensor. Bulk, tone, power, other reflexes normal, within normal limits. Other system within normal limits.
What do you make out here?
It could be dots paralysis.
Dots paralysis may be there. The unilateral. So we have to wait and see whether he has got any intracranial
Lesion.
problem. Focal lesions are there. So we have already said about difference between psychogenic and non-psychogenic type of seizure. So seizure is a sudden discharge caused by electrical hypersynchronization of neuronal networks in the cerebral cortex.
Okay, sir.
Okay. What's the importance of unprovoked seizure?
It may be part of epilepsy, so there could be future seizures.
So he said repeated seizures.
Okay.
Suppose there is a provocation. So if you withdraw the provocation, maybe he survives.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So epilepsy is when there is at least two unprovoked seizure occurring more than 24 hours apart. Suppose seizure occurs within 24 hours, the patient remains unconscious between. What do you call it?
Status epilepticus.
Yes, that's right. So one unprovoked seizure and the probability of further seizure similar to the general recurrence risk after two unprovoked seizure occurring over the past 10 years is also epilepsy. Events a part of epileptic syndrome also you can say is a case of epilepsy. What are the common precipitants?
Deprivation of sleep.
Sleep, yes.
Then stress.
Stress.
Fatigue.
Fatigue.
Then flashing bright.
Lights. Okay. Strong emotions, intense exercise, loud music, fever, menstruation, missed medications, especially for anti-epileptic drugs, alcohol, other drugs. So, how will you differentiate between true epilepsy and psychogenic non-epileptic seizure-like episodes? The duration of epilepsy will be very short because brain is discharging. Brain cannot continue for a long time. It will get exhausted. Psychogenic, it may be for hours together.
Okay, sir.
Eyes, you already mentioned, closed versus open. Flickering, in case of psychogenic one, you cannot open it. Motor activity, epilepsy is stereotype, synchronized, and you know there's a classical variety.
Okay,
But
sir.
in a psychogenic, it's variable. They kick here and there, wax and wane, proportionate to the attention and stress. And if you try to move, again it increases. Vocalization occur in psychogenic one.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Then prolonged ictal period is unusual. You cannot continue it for a long time. Incontinence is unlikely in psychogenic unless it's a medical student or a nurse.
Okay, sir.
Autonomic signs, cyanosis, tachycardia, found with the major problems, but the psychogenic, nothing happens. Post-ictal symptoms are absent in case of psychogenic. That is very important. And for epilepsy or seizure diseases, disorders, post-ictal is the most important period. And epilepsy has evolved over a long time, the history, and a lot of associations are there. They have classified them. The basis of classification is to get a proper diagnosis and to give appropriate treatment. So one set of condition is called as generalized onset seizures. It can be motor, non-motor, which again is subdivided into different categories. Then we have got focal onset seizures with the motor onset, non-motor onset. Then we have got unknown onset seizures, again motor and non-motor, and we have got unclassified seizures. So by taking the proper investigations, you will be able to classify them into one or the other category. So what are the investigations you do in this patient or any case of seizure?
EEG.
EEG is done. Yes, preferably you can do EEG during the episode if you can arrange it, or after giving a sleep deprivation test, you make them sleep for lesser duration and then provoke it, and then you can do it. Negative EEG report, that is normal EEG report, does not rule out possibility of seizure diseases, epilepsy. You may get, you may not get findings. Anything else you would like to do?
If there is a structural lesion, we can go for CT or MRI.
No, the reverse. At this age, you have to basically go for a imaging like MRI. That's compulsory, because then only we will know whether there is any structural lesion.
Okay.
If you are sure it's not bleed, go MRI. Otherwise, you go for CT followed by MRI, and you can have proper idea. This particular patient underwent imaging, and there was a structural lesion. It's a vascular malformation corresponding to the weakness and upgoing plantar. There was a lesion. Any other investigation you will have to do. Basic blood is very important, because simple hyponatremia can present like this. Hypocalcemia, hypercalcemia, hypomagnesemia. And if it's a case of respiratory disease, of course, you have to check for the blood gases. If you're not epileptic, you have to go for drug levels. If it is, you are suspecting any poison, of course, you have to check for the poison.
Okay, sir.
Patient is on lithium, you have to check the lithium levels.
Okay.
If it's a case of fever, blood culture, urine examination, if you're suspecting meningitis like picture, you have to go for a lumbar puncture. With the fluid, culture it. If it's a malarial, cerebral malaria you are suspecting. Again, the investigation is different. So,
Okay, sir.
basically you have to analyze and find out what are the possibilities and go ahead. Then you are thinking about the first line drugs for seizure. So what are the first line drugs for seizures? Generalized tonic-clonic seizure, first line treatment is lamotrigine, valproic acid. Focal seizures, again you have lamotrigine, carbamazepine and so on. And typical absent seizures, lamotrigine, ethosuximide and valproic. Can you tell what is meant by typical absent seizure?
There is
Patient just stares.
a very little duration
For a
of
few minutes.
Okay.
Then he is unconscious. That is called absent seizure. Okay. Or there can be atypical absent seizure or myoclonic atonic seizures. And drugs of choice are valproic acid, lamotrigine, and topiramate. When you select a drug for epilepsy or seizure, what are the important things that comes to your mind?
If it's a pregnancy case, of
Pregnancy, yes, that's right. So, pregnancy is a very important thing. So, you have to select a drug which will not affect the baby fetus. That's very important. Also, some of these patients may be on oral contraceptive drugs. Some of the drugs may accelerate their metabolism, and the oral contraceptive drugs may not be effective. maybe on other drugs, there can be interactions. Some of these drugs like phenytoin sodium, your face will get disfigured with pimples, acne, hirsutism. So young females will not be happy with it. So you have to think age of the patient, sex of the patient, his physical appearance. Accordingly, you have to select a drug.
Okay, sir.
Phenobarbital was a drug of yesteryears, but then it produces a bit of sleepiness and loss of memory. For children, it may not be good. So, before we start any drug, you have to advise the patient regarding some lifestyles. What lifestyle you tell these patients? Don't drive. Don't drive. He's at risk. So, at least for 3 years, he should not drive. Otherwise, he may produce accidents to others and himself. He should not get on the top of the trees. He may fall down. He should not go near fire. He may fall into the fire. So he cannot take some cooking like job, where the big earthens are put on the floor and you cook food. He may fall into that and get into accidents. Similarly, his friends may be going for swimming. He should keep away. He may get drowned.
Okay.
So risky activities like carpenters or masons building buildings, if he goes up, he may fall down. So such risky jobs must be avoided. That's important advice to the patient. And also, he must be compliant with the medications.
Okay, sir.
He must be told the importance of continuing it.
Okay.
Otherwise, what will happen? There are side effects he has to report.
Okay,
So
sir.
proper counseling is important for treating chronic diseases, particularly for treating young people who thinks that is not enough. Why should I go for medications? But single episode of seizure, many times, if investigation is normal, you don't give any drug. But 2 episodes, you should treat. But if there are birth defects or secondary causes, then of course you have to treat these patients. People may develop seizures after stroke because of scar. We have to treat. And similarly, after accident, if there's a scar, it may be lifelong. People with myoclonic epilepsy, treatment is lifelong. So, proper counseling is important for better compliance. And all the drugs are with side effects. That also must be brought to the attention of the patient. But some are life-threatening side effects. What is side effect? Carbamazepine.
Stevens-Johnson syndrome.
That's one, very life-threatening. Any other life-threatening situation? Dress syndrome, toxic epidermal necrosis, and carbamazepine can make you ataxic, cerebellar signs, leukopenia, agranulocytosis, hepatotoxicity. So quite number of side effects of carbamazepine. It's an enzyme inducer. When you are using rifampicin with it for TB, the effectiveness of anti-tuberculosis drugs may become less. We need to take care of carbamazepine. Phenytoin sodium, we already said, long term they cannot walk because of osteomalacia, ataxia, macrocytic anemia, why not, what not. Valproic acid can make you obese. And there can be lowering of platelet count and hepatotoxicity. Lamotrigine again, Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Okay. So your topiramate, oxcarbazepine, vigabatrin, more and more drugs are coming up. All of them have got side effects. No drugs without side effects. So side effects are very, very, very important.
Okay, sir.
So question to JR. Question to JR. Who is there? Needu? Needu? What are the drugs?
Yes, sir. Yes.
What are the drugs inducing seizure? Which all drugs can produce seizure? Lithium.
Cocaine like.
Lithium is one.
Okay, sir.
When you prescribe
And
antibiotic, you always take care, you don't give ciprofloxacin for known case of seizure patients.
okay, sir.
Sorts of flucloxacillin. Neuroleptics like haloperidol, clozapine, Antidepressants like imipramine, they are all known to induce seizure activity. Suppose there is a difference of opinion regarding its organic or otherwise, what investigation can you do to help you to make out it's organic or not?
The prolactin test can be done in initial phase.
Prolactin test, very good. Prolactin test within 3 hours. Soon after the episode, you may go for it. Yes. Yes. So, can you tell me, in partial type of epilepsy, which is coming from the frontal lobe, what are the features you may have? How will you know sort of frontal lobe that partial seizure is coming?
Disorganized behavior.
Okay. Focal motor deficit, Jacksonian seizures, violent movements, fencing posture, and dysphasia are all clues to diagnosis of frontal source. What about parietal?
Focal sensory disturbances.
Sensory symptoms, very good, very good. And temporal lobe, what symptoms focus to? Auditory hallucination. That's right. Anything else? They have got peculiar movements, lip smacking, jaw moving, chewing, vocalization. They are all characteristic of temporal lobe. What about occipital lobe?
Visual symptoms, visual
hallucinations for lights, colors and all. Can you tell me some postictal events that can occur in any patient?
Postictal.
Thoughts paralysis is one. It will recover within 72 hours. Confusion is very common. Headache, vomiting, prolonged sleep postictally, and they may take time to recover, and there may be amnesia as a postictal phenomenon. So, what are the atypical movements for psychogenic seizure?
Polymyoclonic.
Polymyoclonic is always organic. They will be having characteristic pelvic thrusting, kicking movements, limb and trunk movements, and they keep on vocalizing at that time. And the whole process they are aware. And if you ask them next day what happened, they will be able to tell, who are all standing around them, what they were talking. Everything will be known to this patient, but organic seizure is their own. So today's case, we are discussing a 22-year-old gentleman who had seizure for the first time at the age of 22. And he had persistent pronator drift and upgoing plantar, and investigation revealed a cavernoma, the corresponding area of the brain. So it is possibly a secondary type of seizure. There's a primary thing in the brain, and anti-epileptic drug has to be given, and primary has to be treated. Suppose there is no obvious etiology, what will you do with this boy? This is a young man. What's your plan for him?
Then we need to start on anti-epileptics.
First episode, what do you do?
For unprovoked seizure, usually
Yes.
after second episodes we start anti-epileptics. But if there is no
After
other
second- After second you start, agreed, how long you will give?
3 years.
3 years. Suppose he gets in between one more episode,
Then continue.
continue for next 3 years. So it may become a... So last question is, what are the mimickers of seizures? Differential diagnosis. One is pseudo.
Syncope.
Syncope, that's correct. So how do you differentiate syncope from seizure? Very good.
Pre-syncope will be there for
What is pre-syncope?
there will be blackening.
Yes, they will be having blackouts. They will be having feeling of lightheadedness. They know they are going to fall. And the classical background may be there, maybe passing urine at that time, maybe standing in queue in a temple for a long time. He has gone to cast his vote. He is standing in the sun for a long time. The assembly of the schools, child may be standing in the sun for a long time. So classical background may be there. But the more important is, it is very transient. The moment they are horizontal, they are conscious. And there's a thing called postictal. Okay. So can TIA mimic this?
Yes, sir.
That can also be. Yes. Third one will be non-epileptic seizure, like as you already said. And fourth one will be people who are hyperventilating and throwing off tetany and similar things. So these are the important differential diagnoses. And this is a classical case of seizure that you will encounter in daily practice in the outpatient and the casualty.